ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਜੀ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਜੀ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ। ਆਠ ਪਹਿਰ ਆਰਾਧੀਏ, ਆਠ ਪਹਿਰ ਆਰਾਧੀਏ, ਪੂਰਨ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਗਿਆਨ। ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਜੀ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਜੀ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ। ਜਿਤ ਘਟ ਵਸੈ ਪਾਰ ਬ੍ਰਹਮ, ਸੋਈ ਸੁਹਾਵਾ ਥਾਉ। ਜਮ ਕੰਕਰ ਨੇੜ ਨਾ ਆਵਈ, ਰਸਨਾ ਹਰ ਗੁਣ ਆਠ ਪਹਿਰ ਆਰਾਧੀਏ, ਆਠ ਪਹਿਰ ਆਰਾਧੀਏ, ਪੂਰਨ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਗਿਆਨ। ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਜੀ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਜੀ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ। ਸੇਵਾ ਸੁਰਤ ਨਾ ਜਾਣੀਆ, ਨਾ ਜਾਪੇ ਆਰਾਧ। ਓਟ ਤੇਰੀ ਜਗ ਜੀਵਨਾ, ਮੇਰੇ ਠਾਕੁਰ ਅਗਮ ਅਗਾਧ। ਆਠ ਪਹਿਰ ਆਰਾਧੀਏ, ਆਠ ਪਹਿਰ ਆਰਾਧੀਏ, ਪੂਰਨ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਗਿਆਨ। ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਜੀ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਜੀ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ। ਭਏ ਕਿਰਪਾਲ ਗੁਸਾਈਆਂ, ਨਠੇ ਸੋਗ ਸੰਤਾਪ। ਧਰਤੀ ਵਾਹ ਨਾ ਲਗਾਈ, ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਰੱਖੇ ਆਪ। ਆਠ ਪਹਿਰ ਆਰਾਧੀਏ, ਆਠ ਪਹਿਰ ਆਰਾਧੀਏ, ਪੂਰਨ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਗਿਆਨ। ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਜੀ, ਦੁਖ ਭੰਜਨ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ, दुख भंजन तेरा नाम जी, दुख भंजन तेरा नाम, दुख भंजन तेरा नाम जी, दुख भंजन तेरा नाम। आठ पहर आराधी है, आठ पहर आराधी है, पूर्ण सतगुर ज्ञान। दुख भंजन, दुख भंजन तेरा नाम जी, दुख भंजन तेरा नाम, दुख भंजन तेरा नाम जी, दुख भंजन तेरा नाम। आठ पहर आराधी है, आठ पहर आराधी है, पूर्ण सतगुर ज्ञान। दुख भंजन, दुख भंजन तेरा नाम जी, दुख भंजन तेरा नाम, दुख भंजन तेरा नाम जी, दुख भंजन तेरा नाम, तेरा नाम, तेरा नाम। वाहेगुरु।
सज्जना देखा दर्शन तेरा राम, देखा दर्शन तेरा राम, आवो सज्जना। मन चौक नेरा सुन प्रभ मेरा, मैं तेरा परवासा। मन चौक नेरा सुन प्रभ मेरा, मैं तेरा परवासा। दर्शन देख पई नेह केवल, जन्म मरण दुख नासा। हाँ दर्शन देख पई नेह केवल, जन्म मरण दुख नासा। आवो सज्जणा, आवो सज्जणा।
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Love. I didn't know if Eva was gonna do the seva today, but I guess not. Welcome to Love. Welcome to Baba Sawan Singh. Welcome to Sant Singh, Ishwarji, Sant Kirpal, all the beautiful, lovely ones. Let's dance and get lost in their love. We're crazy for their love. Forever crazy for their love. Did you see the gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous schedule with the most beautiful flower next to Master's face? Look, enjoy. Every day I enjoy a different beauty coming from Master's heart. Let's see. We have today Shabd by our dear sister Pradeep, and it's called, "Oh dear Master, I have come to your sanctuary." Can't wait. Then there is an introduction by me. Then there is a 40-minute talk by Prempal Ji, and the topic is surrender. Then we're gonna continue that beautiful video of Master. That was very powerful video that we were watching yesterday. So we're gonna continue watching that, and we're gonna melt in Master's love all together, like every day, and drink his nectar. So let's start with the Shabd. Nice to see all of you. Oh.
Hello everyone. तुम सरनाई आया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया, तुम सरनाई आया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया। उतर गयो मेरे मन का संसार, उतर गयो मेरे मन का संसार, जब ते दर्शन पाया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया, तुम सरनाई आया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया। अनबोलत मेरी बिरथा जानी, अनबोलत मेरी बिरथा जानी, अपना नाम जपाया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया, तुम सरनाई आया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया, तुम सरनाई आया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया। दुख नाठे सुख सहज समाए, दुख नाठे सुख सहज समाए, आनंद आनंद गुण गाया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया, तुम सरनाई आया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया। बाह पकड़ कड़ लीने अपने, बाह पकड़ कड़ लीने अपने, ग्रह अंधकूप ते माया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया, तुम सरनाई आया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया। कहो नानक गुरु बंधन काटे, कहो नानक गुरु बंधन काटे, बिछरत आन मिलाया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया। तुम सरनाई आया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया। तुम सरनाई आया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया। तुम सरनाई आया ठाकुर, तुम सरनाई आया। थैंक यू ईश्वर जी, थैंक यू सेवा।
Thank you so much, dear sister Pradeep. Wow, you are glowing with Master's love, and so nice to see you. And I know Master is the one who is in charge fully of who comes to Satsang and who doesn't come to Satsang. But when I see people, my holy family that I have not seen for a while, my soul starts dancing. I start to get so happy. I start to get so happy that they're coming back again, because really we are all one holy family, and we are meeting in the name of Ishwarji, in the name of the perfect masters. Every day we put our head on their feet, and every day we feel the presence, and we get the cup of nectar, and every day is a holy dance. Every day is a holy dance in God. So when I see some family members that have not come for a while, and then they come back, really, it's the greatest feeling. It's the greatest feeling. That comes from inside. It comes from inside, and it makes me so happy. And Pradeep, thank you so much for your seva. And the words of the seva are amazing. That really we're all, we live in the sanctuary of our Holy Father. We live in that sanctuary, and that's our food. That's our daily food. That's our nourishment. That's our security. And Master really takes all our sorrows and all our pains once we open our heart to Him. It is like the opening. It's called the opening of the heart. The opening of the heart, where we really put all doubts to the side, and with full love, with full devotion, we really do an opening to the heart. I can tell you about Michael that used to go see Ishwarji with a heart that is closed, with a judging mind, and how it was so different than when my heart cracked open and I fully embraced and could see who Ishwarji is. And with open arms, I could embrace him. The opening of the heart is very, very important. That really receptivity comes from opening of the heart. Receptivity and intense blessing comes when we open our full heart and see who Master is, and put our judging mind aside and just accept. Then the soul really starts to dance. So there was like two Michaels in the beginning. When I used to see Ishwarji, I thought I don't need this master because I have Santakar Singh. But I'm gonna come and see him anyway because there is extra blessing. He was still pulling me. But then at some point he cracked my heart. He cracked the nutshell of my mind. And then my heart opened. And when the heart opened to Ishwarji, really, you could see all the people around him that are in love with him, and how their soul is dancing, how they are smiling. And really, that's the difference between an open heart and a closed heart. Somebody that has the mind in front of him to block the blessings, and somebody who has removed the mind and now is really digesting all the blessings. And on in every video, I see people who open their hearts completely to Ishwarji, and their soul is dancing. Their soul is dancing. And I always regret those 5 years that I used to go see Ishwarji and had my mind in front of me. But my soul was still getting something, that there could be two people that are coming to see the master, one with open heart and one with a closed heart, but he loves both the same. Because both are his children, and he's nourishing both. He's nourishing both, and he's calling both from inside. Open your heart, open your arms, and come to me. And that's the work of the master, to really, with his love, remove and control the mind, and then open up the gold mine of blessings, the gold mine of blessings. So both have been blessed. Michael with the closed mind, and Michael with the open heart, the same. But really, for the disciple with an open heart, really the presence of the master is like the ecstasy. With the one that has an open heart and sees the master who he is, that he is God in man, Satpursh, and opens the heart to Satpursh, then there is a flood, a tsunami of blessing that come to that soul. And that soul starts to do the holy dance. That soul starts to whirl and dance. That soul starts to whirl and dance. There is a poem, not a poem, there is yeah, I think it's a poem, but no, it's like a few lines from Rumi's son. And Rumi's son is talking about how his dad danced day and night in the madness, in the craziness of love. He was crazy for love. And that craziness for love for his master, once he opened his heart, once he opened with heart, removed the judge, removed the doubts, and removed the mind, then he could dance. He could dance and he could dance. He whirled and whirled and whirled and whirled. And in his whirling, he was in ecstasy. He was drunk in God and lost in love. Drunk in God and lost in love. That's what Rumi was. And that's what all the saints and masters, once they open their heart, the heart opening fully, then there is the intense blessings. So it's really good to open the heart. It's really good to open the heart and see the master in his reality. And he's the one with his grace that shows us who he is. The perfect ones, they don't have to teach with words. They can communicate everything from God to soul, and God to soul in the language of silence. Just from a drishti, all knowledge and all wisdom can really be added to the soul of the disciple. So much opening happens from just one drishti of the master. The real one, the real one, the really real one, the truest one does not have to say anything. He's the owner of love. He's the owner of love, the king of love, the emperor of the whole creation. And in his presence, whether he's talking or whether he is silent, just his presence awakens all the souls. As you could see, you could tell that the awakened one, the true one, the Satpurush in the human form, people start to see him inside. People start to see him inside. He manifests himself within people, and then he starts to draw them towards him. That's the most beautiful thing about the perfect living master, the total one, that he manifests himself in his lovers, the seekers, the seekers. So many people here have seen the master, a vision of the master inside before they even met him outside. I heard countless stories of Ishwarji and Santakar Singh manifesting themselves, or Sant Kirpal or Sant Ajay, manifesting themselves in the disciple, in the seeker, and the seekers coming to them later on in life by a godly coincidence, by a godly coincidence that happens from the outside. First for the really seekers of God, sometimes he manifests himself inside. They see him in a vision, and then at the right time, at the correct moment, then they start to see him outside, that he manifests himself outside. Sankirpal used to tell Baba Sawant Singh, I used to see you inside for so many years. How come you did not manifest yourself outside to me except now? And Baba Sawant Singh answered him that there is a correct time for everything. And this is the time that I needed to show you myself outside. That everything in this creation of Lord God has the correct timing. It has the correct timing and the right moment. The correct timing and the right moment. That nothing happens before it's supposed to happen. It is one of the principles of spirituality that Ishwarji talked about, that everything has the right time. Some people used to tell Ishwarji, we want to see the inner master ASAP, as soon as possible. And then he would laugh and look at them and say, but in your schedule, you're going to see the inner master after 20 years. So keep doing your meditation, that everything has its correct time. And that is part of the surrender. That is part of the surrender, that we surrender to whatever God gives us, whatever he gives us from inside or whatever he gives us from outside, we have to accept. And everything has its correct timing. We cannot make things more speedier or slower, that he gives us at the right time, at the right moment. Enlightenment, the saints and masters say, enlightenment has its correct time, has its right moment. That totality, for becoming total, has its correct time, and it cannot be happen before or after. So this is part of the surrenderance, and to just surrender to whatever master gives, and to really live in the surrenderance of the master, and to accept what he gives, is really to be very happy that master is in charge of my life. He is in charge of my everything, from A to Z. Whatever I eat, wherever I work, whatever I do, everything that comes to me is coming from master. Everything that comes to me is coming from master. And every situation in the outer world is also God's will. Even if we don't like it, even if we don't like it, we see something in the outside that we don't like, and maybe we get irritated, but then we have to remind ourselves. And that happened to me yesterday. I got irritated a little bit about something. And then directly my soul came up and it said, it's God's will. Surrender to God's will. Every situation outside is also God's will. In this holy play, in this holy show, in this holy DVD that has been already shot and now it's being played. So we have to remember to be happy always is to accept God's will, to surrender to whatever he gives us inside or outside in the world, and to accept what master gives us, and to accept the situation no matter how horrible it looks. That is part of the surrenderance. And remember what the saints and masters said, that every situation is a blessing. After initiation, since master takes hold and takes a seat next to our soul, then everything that happens in our life, moment after moment after moment, is being guided by master to liquidate our karmas and to take us closer towards him. So no matter what happens outside, we have to accept it, we have to surrender to it, and we have to take it as a blessing, a big blessing in disguise, a big blessing in disguise, and to live that way, to live that way. Let me read to you a couple of poems from Rumi, and the Rumi was so in love. He was drunk in God all the time, and to read few lines from him is contagious. That could also make us drunk in God. And this is from Sultan Walid Rumi's son. He's saying about his dad, day and night, my father danced in ecstasy. Day and night, my father danced in ecstasy, spinning on earth like the turning heavens. His laughter echoed through the zenith of the sky and was heard by beings of every realm. He showered the musicians with gold and silver. He gave away whatever came into his hand. He was never without a singing heart. He was never at rest. Wow, these few lines of describing a total one who's always dancing in ecstasy, spinning on earth like a turning heavens, and always laughing from inside, the laughter of God. There is a book of Hafiz. Have you ever heard God laughing? Have you ever heard God? Have you ever heard God laughing from inside? Did God ever laugh inside of you and you heard that? That will also happen. Wow. And every being in every realm heard that laughter. The laughter of God could be heard in the heart of all his creation. Wow. Wow. And Rumi, everything that came in his hand, he gave it away. Wow. This can give us a clue about the total one, that he never takes, he always gives. And he gives away whatever comes in his hand. Wow. That's why, because he's the owner of the whole creation, of the Lord God. And he is so generous that he can give and give and give, and God will always supply and supply and supply. That's what generosity does. They say in giving, we receive. And here it says, he gave away whatever came into his hand. He was never without a singing heart. Generosity generosity opens the grace of God, that the more generous we are in this world, to his creation, to his mission, then the more generosity floods towards us. It's the law. It's the law. In giving, we receive, as Jesus said. There was a rebellion in the city. No, the whole world sounded with the cries of rebellion. How could a great pillar and champion of Islam, hailed as the leader of both worlds, become such a raving madman? everybody, everybody was revolting. Why is our leader Rumi, who was like a big philosopher and the champion of Islam, now always dancing and crazy for God, dancing in ecstasy and whirling and laughing and smiling? They all thought that he became a madman. And that's the truth. He became a Mastana. He became a Mastana, mad in love, drunk in love every moment. Every moment of his life was being drunk in God. And that's what's going to happen to us. We already feel it. We already smell the smell. We smell the smell of the kingdom of God. And with that smell, that means it's close. That means it's so close to our heart. That means sooner or later, the smell is going to become the real thing. And we're going to be really, really, really drunk. Now we are drunk from the smell. And soon we're going to be really drunk, really drunk. Like Rumi, whatever happened to Rumi and Hafiz and Shams is gonna happen to us. Omar al-Khayyam, he is always talking about that cup of wine, being drunk in God, lost and drunk in God, to return to the root of the roots of ourselves and be always happy and drunk, and to control everything, not to be controlled, but the whole world will be controlled by God inside of us. That we now, people who don't have that connection, they're like a feather in the wind. The wind can take them everywhere it wants. But once we are connected deeply into the inner core of our being, into the Shabd, into God, into Ishwarji, then we can control the whole creation. As they say, the lover of God, the real lover of God, all nature is under his command. All the three worlds are under his command. His soul will have the status of the ruler of the three worlds. That's the soul of the true lover. His soul will have that status automatically given by God, the ruler of the three worlds. And that can be done, that can be had. Just let's keep falling and falling deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the love of Ishwarji. Drink the nectar from his feet. Keep our humility and know that we are nothing. We are nothing and he is everything. We are nothing and he is everything. He's the doer. He uses us and we are only puppets in his hands. And the way when we start to think that we are nothing, we are zero, 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 then he starts to fill us. When we become a zero, then we can become a hero, because then we have no ego, we have no five enemies inside of us, and then the blessing can start to be poured, poured and poured, because now we are empty. An empty cup can be filled. An empty cup can be filled to the brim. And the cup that is still dirty, you cannot fill it, because then nobody can drink it, because it will be polluted. So first, the master empties us of all anger, lust, greed, ego, attachment, hypocrisy, everything that is opposite of God, everything that is opposite of God, he empties us. Sometimes when he does cleaning on us, our mind, he stirs the mud in the bottom, and then the water becomes murky. And then we're like, what's happening to me? Why are these thoughts coming to me? I thought I was cleaner. And then, but that's cleaning. That's cleaning. Master, when these thoughts start to come, whether they are like whatever thoughts they are from the opposite of love, that means Master is cleaning something. He is stirring something from the bottom, and then he is releasing us. That's why Rumi says, every thought that comes to you, whether it is a beautiful thought, whether it's a jealous thought, whether it's an angry thought, entertain it, accept it as coming from the Lord. That's also part of surrenderance, to accept even our own thoughts, because they are not our own. We are not the thoughts, we are not the emotions. We are the experiencer of all these things. We are not the experience, as Ishwarji said, we are the experiencer. We are the experiencer. And these thoughts are not us. These emotions are not us. So if they are coming, then we entertain them. We welcome them. We welcome them. And we say, okay, you came for a reason, and now you leave for a reason. And whatever it is, it's a blessing. Whatever it is, it's a cleaning. It's an unburdening of the soul. Everything we go through. If our mind is disturbed, if we are going through sickness, everything is an unburdening of the soul, paying off of karma, and getting closer and closer and closer to Holy Father, Mother God, bringing him closer to our heart of hearts. And then, let's see. Those who recited the scriptures were now singing with abandon and swaying with the musicians in public and in private. People turned away from dogma and empty rituals and went crazy after love. Wow, people turned away from dogma and empty rituals, and now they went crazy after love. This is our situation. We are so crazy after the love of God. We are madmen and madwomen. That's why we gather every day, because we are mad in love, crazy after love. Okay, I'll read one more poem and that's it. We can see the truth in your eyes. For ages you have come and gone, courting this delusion. For ages you have run from the pain and fortified the ecstasy. So come, return to the root of your own soul. Return to the root of your own soul. Although you appear in earthly form, your essence is pure consciousness. You are the fearless guardian of divine light, Ishwarji. So come, return to the root of the roots of your own soul. and meet the inner master inside of you and behold him and never let go. When you lose all sense of self, the bonds of 1,000 chains will vanish. When you lose all sense of self, becoming a zero, the bonds of 1,000 chains will vanish. Lose yourself completely. Return to the root of your own soul. Lose yourself completely. Keep thinking of Ishwarji all the time, day and night, day and night. Bring him closer to your heart. That is being lost in love, always singing the praises of the Lord, always doing his Simran, always doing his Dhyan, and always bringing him closer, closer and closer is to be lost in love, lost and drowned in the love of God. You descend from Adam by the pure word of God, but you turned your sight to the empty show of this world. You turned your sight to the empty show of this world. Alas, how can you be satisfied with so little? So come, return to the root of your own soul. How can you be satisfied with so little? That if our soul is not dancing in God, how can we be satisfied? Would you rather be a miserable king of this world or just a hand-to-mouth lover, some simple living, somebody who is simple, has simple living, and is drunk in God all the time? Which life will you choose? Would you want to be the king, that miserable king of the world, or who has big ego and wants to be praised and wants to have hands folded for him, or a simple lover of God who's always dancing in ecstasy? Wow. You descend from Adam by the pure word of God. But, oh yeah, I did that one. What are you so enchanted by this world? Why are you so enchanted by this world when a mine of gold lies within you? When a mine of gold lies within you. Really, really, the lovers of God, they enjoy something real inside. They enjoy something real inside. And that something real inside, the gold mine, gets better and better and better as the soul removes all the coverings of the mind, then more and more and more enjoyment of God comes to us. Open your eyes and come. Return to the root of your own soul. You were born from the rays of God's majesty. You were born from the rays of God's majesty. When the stars were in their perfect place, how long will you suffer from the blows of the non-existent hand, the blows of suffering of this world? So come, return to the root of your own soul. Wow, life without God, I remember it was only suffering for me, anger and lust and wow, yuck. And life after Santakar entered my heart, wow, it became beautiful and beautiful, and it kept increasing in beauty. You are a ruby encased in granite. How long will you deceive us with this outer show? Oh, friend, we can see the truth in your eyes. So come, return to the root of your own soul. After one I love this one. After one moment with that glorious friend, you became loving, radiant, and ecstatic. Your eyes were sweet and full of fire. Come, return to the root of your own soul. One moment with Ishwarji with an open heart made us, with the glorious friend, we became loving, radiant, and ecstatic. Really, one moment with Ishwarji. Shams El Tabriz, the king of the tavern, the king of the tavern of love, has handed you a cup, has handed you an eternal cup, and God in all his glory is pouring the wine. So come drink, return to the root of your soul. Wow, come drink with us every day. Soul of all souls, Life of all life, Ishwarji. You are that, Ishwarji. Soul of all souls. Life of all life. Wow. Who? Just these 4 words. Life of all life is the master. He's the life of all life. Wow. Seen and unseen, moving and unmoving. You are that. Wow. The road that leads to the city is endless. Go without head or feet, and you'll already be there. What else could you be? You are that. Go without head or feet. Full surrender. That this road to God is like a razor's edge. We have to carry our head in our hands and tread that road, the road of surrenderance. The road of surrenderance. Go without head or feet, and you already will be there. What else could you be? You are that. You are Ishwarji. Wow. Thank you, Master, for the seva. Wow, I enjoyed doing the seva today. I felt so much love from Ishwarji pouring on us. Thank you, Master, for the seva, and really, my holy family, big hugs for you and to your feet too. And now we play our dear brother, holy brother, Prempal Ji. Let's enjoy his talk.
Everyone, my today's topic is surrender, also known as Sharan, Sharanai, Oat, Asra, Take, Smarpan, Havale. There are many meanings of surrender or Smarpan. Surrender means when you cannot do anything but you surrender yourself to someone. In spirituality, surrender means when you cannot do anything with your physical body, with your mind, but you surrender yourself to someone. Then who is someone you have to surrender? That means you have to find someone who had gone beyond physical aspect and causal, and you surrender yourself to that person. That person is known as surrender. You can do surrender in a different way. In a physical level, surrender is different. Astral level, surrender is different. Causal level, surrender is different. Beyond Parbrahm, there is no surrender. You surrender to whom you surrender is one. Is a deep meaning of surrender. Surrendering yourself means that when you're helpless. That means you can't do anything. That means you can't do anything. For an example, if you want to cross a river and you go and you say there is a big river and you can't cross it, then what you have to do? What you have to do at that point? You will be looking all over that how I cross that river. That's very long, very deep, very wide and scary. What you will do? You will look all over and figure out, is there any ship? Is there any boat? Is there any sailor who can take me across that river? Eventually, if there is a sailor on that bank of a river, he can take you across. If you sit in the boat of that sailor and he's sailing and he will take you across, and if he's in the middle, can you do anything? No. You have to surrender, or you have to depend on him. You have to trust him that he will take me across that river. That's the physical reality I'm talking about. In a physical planet, if we have to cross the river, or even if we have to take a flight from Sacramento to Chicago, from India to Australia, anywhere. That's the same thing. When you buy a ticket, do you believe that the pilot will, you never even know who is the pilot is, but the pilot will take you across. That's the physical level reality. In spirituality, it's a different story. In a different story, if you want to cross a river, you have to find a sailor who can take you across. That sailor have to have a boat, have to have a patwar or a spade, so he can keep moving it and take you across. What is the reality behind this? What is the reality behind it? The seekers who want to cross a river of death and birth, also known as Pabjal, they have to find a master. In reality, the master will appear in your life. If the master will appear in our life, that's our karma. Karm hoye satgur milaye, seva surat shabd chit laye. Why the master come in our life? What is the purpose of the master? Why the master even come here? If they belong to Satsang, they have to stay in Satsang. Why they come here? They have to come pick up those marked soul who promise, to whom he promised that he will pick them up when they feel they want to come home. That is known as seeking. That is known as seeking. When our seeking start, our journey start. If you want to go somewhere, first thing that will come into your mind is that I have to go somewhere. If I have to go from Sacramento to India, something will come in our mind, in my mind. Then I have to figure out how to go. When the seeking starts, everything starts from seeking. Seeking, everything starts from seeking. If I want to go from here to India, I have to buy a ticket. I have to get an aeroplane. The pilot will take me there. If I sit an aeroplane, there is no pilot, then I can't go anywhere. Then what is the purpose behind it? That means if you want to go beyond the other side of the river, as Baba Nanak Ji says, you cannot go beyond that river unless most people in the ancient time, during the time of Baba Nanak Ji, Muhammad Sahib, people who want to cross that river, they will wait for the sailor or mullah or na khuda to take them across. Take them across. If there is no sailor, no boat, they can't take them across. And Babaji says, Pattan kuke patani, Bambo tuk bilal, Par pavandade dit mein satgur bot chadai. Babaji says, if there is no sailor in a physical river, you can't cross it. Same is, you cannot cross the river of death and birth unless you have Satgur Bihotha Chad. Satgur means PLM, Bihotha means the ship or aeroplane, anything. Chad means when he gives you a ticket or the boarding pass. The boarding pass is the initiation. Here Baba Nanak Ji says, when a master wants to take you back home, he gives you a boarding pass. Boarding pass the initiation. He gives you initiation. Then he will tell you what to do. He will tell you what to do. If you don't have a boarding pass, does not matter. Even if you have a ticket, you can't board. Does not matter even if you are a human being, if you don't get initiation from a PLM, you can't go back to Satsang or your own home. Very important point that Baba Nanak ji trying to explain here. We are all human. How many humans are here on this physical million, billion, trillions? Then how many goes back? Nanak quote and may quote. Out of millions, only one get the boarding pass to go back to Sachkhand. And what is the boarding pass? The Naam, Shabad, initiation. Initiation is only done by the master. Initiation is only done by the master. If you get initiation, you can go back home. You can go back home, otherwise you can't. As Babaji says, like a sailor is waiting for all the passengers at the river of the bank. Come, sit in my boat, I will take you across. What is the meaning of Bani of Baba Nanak ji here? Sadhguru comes here to pick up the mark soul and wait for them 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. Unless he fill up the plane or boat, unless he finishes list, he will give them the boarding pass. What is the boarding pass? Boarding pass means you can sit in there. Boarding pass is the initiation. Shabd or Naam. Shabd or Naam. Master will give you the boarding pass or Shabd or Naam. And what is the boat? Boat is the human body. Boat is the human body. As a human being, you can get the boarding pass, Naam Dan, from a PLM. Then you can start your journey back to home, where you came from. Where you came from. Where you came from. Going back to Sachkhand. Maharaj Charan Singh Ji used to say in a satsang in 1977, 1978, I never could understand. I never could understand. Maharaj Charan Singh Ji used to say, ਆਪਣੀ ਹਸਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਨੇਸ਼ ਤੋਂ ਨਬੂਦ ਕਰਕੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਦੇ ਬਣ ਜਾਵੋ. Surrender yourself to your master. Eliminate your own identity. I never could understand. In 1978 and 1979, after many decades, after many years, finally understood little bit of that. But Huzur Maharaj Charan Singh Ji used to say, Maharaj Charan Singh Ji says, you can become one with your Lord only if you surrender yourself to your master. The problem is, can you do it? Can you do it or no? No, it's very hard. Mind will never let you surrender. Mind will never let you surrender. Mind is the biggest obstacle. In surrender, you have to lose your own identity. But the mind will never let you do it. Mind thinks. Mind operates from universal mind. And the soul operates from such kind. Even the mind gets power from soul. Still, mind want to surrender itself. And where the surrender happen? You can surrender yourself, your master. Surrender means you surrender yourself. You lose your own identity. You want to become with your master. You cannot become one with your master at a physical level. At a physical level, Ishwarpuri Maharaj Ji, Maharaj Charan Singh Ji, Maharaj Gurinder Singh Ji, Guru Mata Ji, Chand Pardoj Ji, they are different than me. They have their own physical body, and I have my own physical body. I cannot become one with them unless I see them inside in a radiant form. That means to become one is not at a physical level. You cannot become one with your master at the physical level. At the physical level, master looks like us. Then how we become one with your master? We can become one with your master only if you surrender. Mind won't let you surrender. Mind will keep operating on its own. Mind will keep operating on its own till we cross the universal mind or Brahm. And once we cross time and space, then you can surrender your master. Then who surrender to the master? Soul. And what's the difference between soul? No difference at all. You cannot surrender unless there is all kind of egoism involved in your mind. You can keep thinking. Thinking belongs to the mind. Thought process belongs to the mind. As long as you are in the realms of mind, that means, in other words, I will say, as long as you are in the realms of time and space to the Brahm, you cannot surrender. You might surrender physical body at the physical when you die. You might surrender astral body at the astral level. That is Sukshma Sri. You might surrender the causal body or Karan body at the Brahm level. Then what is after that? Soul. What is after that? Soul. To surrender yourself to your master. And you need to find the real master. And who is the master? Master is the Shabd. As a master is here at a physical level, astral level, causal level, your point par Brahm, song this, Satnam, shows the form of the soul and the mind. You can surrender yourself physically. But surrender your mind won't let you do it. You can surrender yourself at the astral level as Turiya Pad, that's the sub-astral area, that's your subconscious mind. And you can surrender yourself in the Brahm or area as a conscious mind. But after that there is no mind, no physical body. After that there is nothing but soul. And Huyur Maharaj Baba Saban Singh Ji used to say, the path of the master starts after Parbrahm. That means once you surrender your physical, astral and causal esteems, then you will know what is master, what is Shabad, and what is beyond time and space. Once you drop all these costumes, then you know what is the real surrender. The real surrender. The spiritual surrender. Physical surrender may happen at the physical level. Astral level surrender, causal level surrender. But beyond time and space, when there is no body at all, no physical, astral, causal, only soul, Shabd and master only, from where the path of the master starts. As Hajur Maharaj Baba Sahib they used to say, the path of the master starts from Parbrahm. That means the real surrender. Surrender means there is nothing, just you only. When you and master becomes one, that's the real surrender at the spiritual level. That level starts from Parbrahm. That level starts when you cross the universal mind. Nanak aap showed Guru Mahismaya. As Baba Nanak says, you lose your own identity, you want to become with your master. That means in surrender. spiritual surrendership. There is no nothing, just master only. Master only. सूरज किरण मिले, जल का जल हुआ राम, ज्योति ज्योत मिली, संपूर्ण थी आराम. As Baba Nanak ji said, if you throw one drop water in an ocean, it becomes the form of an ocean. That's what you call spiritual surrender. That means there is no difference between you, there is no difference in the soul, in consciousness of totality of consciousness. As mind is a unit of universal mind, so is our soul as a unit of totality of consciousness. When the same soul goes back to Satsang, it becomes one with the master, becomes with totality. That's the real spiritual surrender. Physical surrender, hasty surrender, causal surrender. Real surrender is when soul and master becomes one. When master and soul becomes one, there are many verses written by many PLMs, including Saint Ravi Das ji, and including many other saints. Swami ji Maharaj, Jyoti Jyot mili Sampurn tiya Ram. Many jab se Radha Sham ke, जब से राधा श्याम के नैन हुए हैं चार, श्याम बने हैं राधा और राधा बन गई श्याम. That means since when Krishna and Radha. Here I like to say, if you study Bhagavad Gita and Krishna Maharaj telling Arjun, come into my surrender, I give you salvation. Here Lord Krishna is not asking Arjun to come to him in his surrender in a physical level. Lord Krishna and Arjun, they were brother-in-laws. Here Lord Krishna is telling him, surrender your soul to me after Par Brahm. Then I give you salvation. I give you salvation. As Sai Bulle Shah ji say, Ranja Ranja Kardini me appe Ranja hoi, Akho ni menu tiddo Ranja, Hir na akho koi. Sai Bulle Shah ji say, I keep saying Ranja, there is a story of Hir and Ranja in Punjab. That means soul and God. If you keep repeating Ranja, that means God, 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 Allahu, Allahu, Allahu. You will become Allah. You become the form of Allah. Allahu, Allahu, Allahu. Allahu. When you become that form, then there is no difference between you and Allah, Vaheguru, Paramatma. Then there is no difference. As Sai Bulle Shah ji say, and as is written, as Baba Bulle Shah ji says, Bulla ki jane mein kaun? I don't know who I am. That means he lost his identity. And Rabia Basri, the female saint, PLM, I like to say, someone asked a question from Ishwarpuri ji Maharaj while I was sitting in that nominee. How come most PLM are a male? How come no female is a master? Then Ishwarpuri Maharaj say, Rabia Basri and others had been master. At the same time he said, you will see the female PLM in your life. That PLM in your life. And Rabia Basri, more than 1200 years ago in Basra, Baghdad, Iraq. And she ended up becoming a PLM because of her love and devotion with Khuda, Allah. she ended up becoming the PLM. And she said, one time she decided to make a cotton weaving. Then she sold that thing in a bazaar for 2 pesos, 2 pennies. And she was holding 2 pennies in one hand. And after that, she was feeling there are two. At the same time, she said, what is the difference between Allah and me? Me and Allah are not two, who are one. Then she put 1 peso, penny in one hand, the other in the other. And she said, me and Allah are one. There is only one Allah. There is only Vaheguru Paramatma. Allah Ekom. There is only one. And we are also one at the level of the soul. At the physical reality, 8.4 million species. It's a different story at the physical level. Astral cosmos, when you cross all these, and you will see, when Mansoor got an initiation from Junaid, when he reached Muqam-e Haq, such condition, then he said, Anil Haq, Anil Haq, Anil Haq. That means I know who I am. That means Sohing. I know there is no difference between you and me. Then Junaid said, please be quiet. It's a long story. Then again, he said, Anil Haq, Anil Haq, Anil Haq. And he said, please stop it. Stop it. When Rabia Basri, the first female saint, people think the PLM has to be male only, especially from India. Absolutely not. Rabia Basri, 1200 years ago, saint is saint. गगन द्वार एक जोगी वैसे नारना पुरख कहे को कैसे. To be a saint or Vaheguru Paramatma Allah is not a physical body. Does not have to do with male and female. This thing goes only to the causal level. After that there is nothing. Brahm up to the astral level, causal level. Who can identify ourselves as a male and female, but beyond. There is no male or male. As Papa Nanak ji says, Gagan Dwar ek jogi baise, nar na purk, kahe ko kaise. He is not male or female. Male or female belongs to be a physical. Vaheguru Paramatma Allah is not a physical at all. Not a physical at all. Is not a physical at all. And Rabia Basri surrendered herself to Allah, his master. Allah, Vaheguru Paramatma, Allahu Akbar. Allah Akbar. Akbar means the great. That means Allah is the great. And one time, it's a very long story, I love to deliver a separate Satsang on story of Bibi Rabia Basri ji. Today I just want to say, to be a master, to be a disciple, you don't need a physical body. It's the yearning of your soul. And tell me, is your soul is male or female? If you think the gender of your soul, you're living at the physical level. And what is Vaheguru? What is Allah? Is Allah? No. Is he male, female? Not at all. Not at all. As Baba Nanak ji says. As Baba Nanak ji says, Gagan dwar ek jogi baise, nar na purkhe ko kaise. He is not physical at all. He is not male or female. And what is the gender of our soul? Today, I will say, I will challenge you all the scientists, please. What is the gender of my soul? Please tell me. If you can tell me what is the gender of my soul, that will be the gender of Vaheguru Paramatma, Allah. In reality, the Anami. 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 Surrender means surrender yourself to your master. I remember that day when Huzur Maharaj Charan Singh Ji used to say that. Apni hasti nu nesto nabut karke. I never could understand what he is trying to tell me. Surrender yourself to your master. 1978, 79, I was like 18, 19 years old. I never even got any session from Maharaj Charan Singh Ji. Then Maharaj Charan Singh Ji keep repeating in Satsang. Drop your attempt to be one with your master. I never could understand. How could I understand? I never could understand. Then Babaji used to say, Apni nasti nu nesto nabud kar dena. Sharan hai. At the same time, Huzur Maharaj Charan Singh Ji used to say, if you come the shelter of a tiger in a jungle, you don't have to worry about any animals or any dangerous species. I was so much surprised at that time, like 78, 79. But now I get the feeling. Of course. Once you come surrender yourself to your master, you don't have to worry about Dharmaraj and Karmas and all those things. At all. No worries at all. Satguru Sharan Gaho Meri Pyare Karma Jugat Chukai. Swamiji Maharaj says, coming to a shelter of a Satguru is also your karma. Otherwise you won't be here. To get a human life is a karma. To get an initiation is also a karma. To go back to Satsang is also a karma. That means we are rebel. As long as we are in time and space, we are in the realms of mind or karmas and dharmas. Dharma means duty. Dharma means duty. I was so much surprised, but I never could understand what Maharaj Charan Singh Ji used to say. But today, I'm trying to figure out a little bit. Yes, now I get Babaji, now I get. In 1979, when I was like 18, 19 years old, I never could get anything. Even now, at the oldest age of 62, I still don't know anything about my master's will. But only thing I will say, whatever master tells you is the truth. Satguru Sharan Gaho Meri Pyare Karm Jugat Chikai. As a human being, you had a golden opportunity to go back home. Master will pull you. If your name is written in the list, Master will come and pick you up. But surrender yourself. And how many of us had a chance to surrender? Mind will never let us surrender. Mind won't let us surrender. Mind think we are the brave. I've been talking about Bibi Rabia Basri. And Bibi Rabia Basri ji from Basra, Baghdad, like 1300 years ago, she was doing a meditation like in a small little hut. And all of a sudden what happened? When after the sunset, the two seekers came. They said, Bibiji, who were so much hungry and who loved to listen to your satsang, but we were hungry. And Bibiji said, okay, just sit down. Then all of a sudden, a Sevadar came from the same village and she brought 2 chapati, 2 rotis and 2 flour tortillas. And she brought it. And Bibi Rabia Basri ji gave those 2 tortillas or roti or chapati to the 2 seekers who came, hungry person, to her door. And before they even eat it, another person all of a sudden came to her and said, Bibi ji, I'm so hungry. Please, before I die, give me something to eat. And she gave those 2 chapatis, 2 roti to that person who was hungry. And he ate it. And the other 2 people who were sitting there, and they got 2 rotis and never had a chance to eat. And they they were surprised. Bibi ji, 2 roti came for both of us to give to another person. And Bibi said, just wait for the Mauj of Allah. Wait for the Mauj of Allah. I surrender myself to Vaheguru. I surrender myself to Allah. And Allah, they ask, Bibi ji, you surrender already yourself to Allah. Can Allah give us any roti, chapati, tortilla? And she said, Allah said, if you do anything for me, I will return it back to you 10 times more. And they never could understand, but Bibi Rabia Basri ji is trying to tell them that all of a sudden a Sevadar Bibi ji came to the door of Rabia Basri ji and she said, Bibi ji, I got some rotis, tortillas, flour tortillas, chapatis. And Rabia Basri counted it, it was 18 chapatis, 18 rotis, 18 flour tortillas. And she said, no, it's not for me. It might be someone else. And she returned her back. And all those 2 people sitting there, Bibi ji, we just expected 2 roti, 2 tortilla, 2 chapatis, and you return 18 chapatis. And Bibi ji said, it is the Mauj. It is the Mauj of my Allah. It is a promise between me and my best friend Allah. Then after a few minutes, the same girl came back. And she said, Bibi ji, I got some chapati, roti, naan. And Bibi Rabia Basri counted it. It was 20 exactly. She said, thank you. At the same time, say, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. You are my best friend. Allahu Akbar. You kept your promise. And you judged me. You judged me. I believe in you because I already surrendered myself to you. When you said, send me 18 chapatis, 18 rotis, 18 naans, 18 flour tortilla, or no, it can't be you because my promise with you is that you will return 10 times more to me. I give 2 chapatis, 2 naan, 2 rotis to the seekers you send. And I expected 20. When she counted, it was 20. Then she said, Allahu Akbar. Bismillah, la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Then she said, I believe you. I surrender myself. And I believe. Then at the same time Allah said, Rabia Basri, I'm so much impressed with your surrender self, with your Sharanagat, as you Sharanagata. And all those two seekers who came, they said, Rabia, where these rotis, chapatis came from? She said, it just came from a sevadar. But Allah was just checking my belief in him. And finally he said, I bow my head to your belief because you surrender yourself to me. Me and you are one. Rabia, me and you are one. ਗੁਰ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਜੈ ਨਰਪੇ ਕੀਨੀ ਤੈਂਜੇ ਜੁਗਤ ਪਛਾਨੀ ਨਾਨਕ ਲੀਨ ਭੈ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿਉ ਜੋ ਪਾਣੀ ਸੰਗ ਪਾਣੀ ਤੋਹੀ ਮੋਹੀ ਅੰਤਰ ਕੈਸਾ ਕਨ ਕਟਕ ਜਲ ਤਰੰਗ ਜੈਸਾ. When you surrender yourself to your master and there you don't have your own identity, then don't worry about anything. Let the Allah Vaheguru, let your own master figure out. You become the form of the master. Come, let your master figure out. To surrender yourself to your master is very hard. When you surrender, that means you're gone beyond time and space. That means you already crossed the mind. When Miraji got initiation from Saint Ravidas ji, and people call her Alakadam name, she said, Mira Manamani, Surt Sail Asmani, Mira to Santon mein mili. As Miraji says, Mira to Santon mein mili, jyon gududi mein daga. That means my master and me are the one. In surrender, there is only one. Surrender yourself to your master. You to reach the level known as true love or breathe. In breathe, there is only one. Tohi mohi tohi antar kaisa. What is the difference between soul and you? You will experience that when you go to Sohang. Sohang means me and you are same. As known as Anahu. That's where you will see the real meaning of surrender. Please accept my seva and forgive all my mistakes. Please. Thank you, others.
The trees don't have it, the insects don't have it, the dogs don't have it, the cats don't have it. They all work by instinct, pre-programmed instinct in their DNA. They must react the way that's been recorded with them. They never say, should I or should I not? Only human beings say that. Should I or should I not do this? Only human beings say, this is good, this is bad, I shouldn't do it, or I should do it. And no other species does it. Not even angels in heaven can do that because they have all the knowledge what's going to happen. If you knew what's going to happen next second, your free will disappear. But just because we don't know, the future is totally silent, blank for us. Therefore we say, we fill in the blanks and we make our own choices. Therefore this experience of free will is a very unique experience, only available to the human being and to no other living form. They say that even gods and goddesses who may be controlling many universes don't have it because of their knowledge. And we have it because of our ignorance. What a wonderful thing. Ignorance is bliss. That we are ignorant of the future, so we have free will. What would happen if we knew the future? Just think of it for a moment. If you knew that every decision you are making and thinking, I should do this or not do this. And when you go to a higher level and find out that all that different choice making that you were doing, all the analysis you were doing, which I should do this or do that, was pre-recorded long ago. The whole of your discussion, what you should choose, is pre-recorded. If you knew that, you would have no free will. You would still go through the same process, knowing I have to go through the same process. You would be like trees and insects and birds and animals. But we don't know. We are ignorant. Therefore, we say we have free will. We have total free will. The experience is so real. It's not that free will is an illusion. It's a real experience. So long as we are ignorant of the future, free will always be real. What is our definition of reality? Our definition is that which we experience as real. There's no other definition. We have nothing to compare with. What is real or unreal? We have no comparison except what we are experiencing as real. If we had 2 or 3 states of consciousness available to us, we could say, oh, in relation to that, this is real. What about a dream state? We go into a dream, we think it's real. How long does it remain real? Till we wake up. When we wake up, the dream becomes unreal. It does not become unreal till we wake up. Because we are ignorant in a dream where we are sleeping, where the body is. We are ignorant. The ignorance makes that real. Supposing in a dream we also knew we are sleeping in a bed, it will no longer be real. The dream will become unreal. Because we will know this is just an experience we are having, we are actually lying in bed. But since we forget that, we do not have knowledge of that, the dream becomes real. Now in the dream, supposing you say, I know it's a dream. Do you think that will make it real or unreal? No, because you're still telling your friends, you know, we are having a dream. It's all a dream. And then you wake up and there are no friends around. Who were you telling? You were telling the truth without knowing the truth. That's what we do here too. We tell the truth. This is not real, and yet we think it's real. The whole reason for our free will being real is our ignorance of the future. That's all. And yet it's so important that the free will should be a real experience without really being free is the most wonderful gift we have got. And people don't realize it, that ignorance can be so valuable. They don't realize that in the order of creation, if you see the whole order of creation, how this whole creation has come into being successively, starting from totality of consciousness and oneness, in which there nothing else exists except consciousness, individuating for an experience of the many within the one, a consciousness that becomes the many within the one, so that it can experience its basic feature of love. And then the one, many in the one, being called souls, individuated souls. And then those souls descending to a next order of creation and being attached to an accessory called the mind which creates time and space. And in time and space creates the law of events that go by cause and effect. That's all the mind does. Look back at the real nature of mind. The mind, the thinking machine, what is it doing? Is creating time, space, and law of causation for us. Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher, could recognize it even as a philosopher without doing mystical practice. He said these are the just categories of the mind. It just creates time, space, and law of cause and effect. And what has happened with that? With this accessory, we enlarge our experience. Individuated consciousness, the soul, now has a mind and can experience things in time and space and link the events of time and space. Because of this, that happens. And what does that create? It creates one of the greatest laws talked about in the East, now being talked about in the West, law of karma. That it is all karma. We are going through a karma. What is karma? Karma means that if you do something, you have to bear the consequences of it. Do something good, you are rewarded. Do something bad, you are punished. This requires that there should be a consequential thing, a time frame and a space in which this can happen. Imagine if we were to withdraw time and space at this moment, all karma will die. There will be no karma at all. Karma requires time, space, and cause and effect. That is karma. Karma is no different than a function of the mind. Does the soul have any karma? Never. Soul never has a karma. Then who has the karma? A machine attached to us, and we are suffering because of that machine. What lack of awareness do we have that we can not see through these games that are being played in the art of creation And the creation then goes successively to another level. Not only does time, space, and causation create karma, it goes one step lower and adds on that perception by a mind should be broken up into different forms of perception. Seeing, touching, tasting, smelling, hearing all become separate. The mind doesn't require them to be separate. The mind absorbs all these at once. But we create sense perceptions and divide them. That seeing is not the same thing as hearing. And touching is not the same thing as it. And they all become independent, 5 independent sense perceptions. And to top it all, we cover it with the physical body of ours and say, this is me. This is the self. Because the sense perceptions can now operate through a physical system in a physical world and have all the experience of karma, cause and effect in this physical world. It's a very well laid out plan of creation. We can reverse the whole trend and go backwards and see the origin of all this within ourselves right now. It is all sitting right now. The whole thing I'm explaining to you is sitting in each one of us right in our heads. Anybody can go in and check it out. It's not unique to anybody. I don't think there's some specially gifted people who have it, others don't have it. We all have it. We are unaware of it. That's all. We are unaware. Our attention is gone to the experiences outside. Attention is not gone to where the experience is being generated. We think the experiences outside are the real thing. Our reality has been shifted. Our reality is no longer the creator, the creative power. Our reality is the creation. And the creation is our only reality, nothing else. Even we have become small, insignificant parts of this creation. The world has been there for billions of years. We only come for a little while and die. What have we done to ourselves? That consciousness, the creator of all experiences, which is our real self, sitting inside, is being fooled to such an extent by the covers we are wearing, the costumes we put on one after the other to change the scene of the drama. And just because of that reason, we should think that the reality is all outside. And inside is just a receiver of these impressions of reality outside. It's a very interesting thing. Take one sense perception. Take the power of seeing. What is seeing? Seeing is, according to the materialists, doctors, scientists, seeing is rays of light reflected from things around us. If it's dark, we can't see. The rays of light are necessary. Light falls upon things, is reflected from them. Different colors are picked up, different forms are picked up, thrown into the eye, and through a process of going through the lenses of the optical lens, the aqueous and vitreous humor, the liquids, it gets converted into an image. And the image falls in the back of the eye where the retina, which is an extended form of the optic nerve, sits there with rods and cones to distinguish between the form and color. And that causes signal. And that signal is transmitted by the optic nerve to the brain, to the right place in the brain. And consciousness picks up from the brain and say, I can see this. That's the process. Well-identified process. Things come in front of us, we see them. Now imagine for a moment, just theoretically, supposing the retina had the power to create pictures upon itself. And the same pictures it creates that I'm not talking of. We would see things exactly as they are. Supposing the retina has no power at all, the optic nerve has the power to create images. We would see the world as it is. Supposing there's nothing in the optic nerve, it's only in the brain cells, and the brain cells generate the frequencies to see the world, we'd still see the world the same way. Supposing there's nothing in the brain, consciousness that picks up the final signal, generates this, you still see the world the same way. What would happen if consciousness generates this experience? We would see the optic nerve operating on it, we'd see the retina getting the picture, and we'll see the outside world like we are seeing. How do we know which is the cause and effect? How do we know that we see, therefore things are there, or things are there, therefore we see? a question that philosophers have been examining for a long time. And they tried to find an answer in the laws of cause and effect by saying whatever happens first must be the cause, whatever happens later must be the effect. Therefore, unless a thing is in front of us, we don't see it. Therefore, that's in front, and therefore that's the cause, and then we see it. So much analysis has gone into it, whether we see a thing after it is in front of us, or at the same time or before. And we find through all analysis, we see simultaneously with no time gap at all, and thing in front of us, the seeing is at the same time. There's no gap at all. If there was a gap, we could say, this comes first, that I'm seeing first, then the thing is appearing. I could say that seeing is taking place inside. But seeing and the thing are at the same time with no gap at all, we can't determine which is the causal direction. We can't say, are things creating seeing, or for seeing is getting things? Therefore, we get confused. Or for the time being, since we don't know what is happening inside, we take things which are seeing as the only reality. They are the real things creating our experiences. What happens when we meditate? What happens when we really pull our attention back to the third eye center? What happens? What does the experience show? Right out. You will see that the causal direction always was from consciousness to outside and not the other way around. Looks very strange that all the realities that we are seeing are being created by consciousness. That the only building block that is needed for entire creation, with its molecules and atoms and vibrations and different kind of all strange kind of happenings in this entire created universe, not only here but everywhere, is all being generated by consciousness. How is that possible? The mind will never accept it. The only way to understand it, to know it, to be there, is to go within to that point, which is available to all of us right now. That's an amazing thing, that this is such a practical proposition. If you want to find who you are, if you want to find what the reality of all experience is, the only way to really test it out is to go within yourself and test out where it's all happening. Otherwise, you will keep on taking the reality as reality outside of you. The beauty of this creation is, and I admire that beauty of this creation is, that whatever we experience, we take it as real. We have no standard to compare with anything else. This is the only world, so it's real. So people say, is it illusion or is it real? What should I call it? I can't call it illusion. I would call it illusion if I knew another reality. So I call it reality. But was it really real? Then I said, no, the process of illusion created the reality. The process is illusion, the creation is not illusion, it's reality. It's amazing because we have no other definition of reality. Our reality is what we experience real with what means, the means created for that reality. For example, we have these sense perceptions. I want to know, is this chair real or not? I'm looking at the chair, I touch it. Oh, it's real. Why? I can touch it. I am verifying one sense perception with another, both of them created for this physical world. It is just like saying in a dream. I'm having a dream and I see a chair in the dream and somebody says, you know, it's a dream chair, it's not real. And I'll say, I'll touch it. No, it's real. And then I wake up and there is no person telling me and there's no chair. And I find chair was created by the dream. So therefore, when we try to check reality by means within that created reality, we make a big mistake. Because we say, let us ask 40 people, are you all seeing the same thing? Yes, we are. Therefore, it's all real. They are all seeing the same thing. It must be real. And same thing happens in a dream. We meet 40 people in a dream and say, is it a dream or is it real? No, it's all real. And we say, yes, 40 people are saying it's real, it's not a dream. And we wake up, there are no 40 people. And there is no evidence. So this is the big error we make, that our definition of reality has been based upon cross-checking with the same system of perceptions that exist for that experience of reality. So we use illusion to create different levels of reality. And the other wonderful thing about this creation is, which I admire a lot, is at one time we experience only one reality. That's a great beauty, otherwise you would never take it as real. When we go to sleep and dream, we don't keep awake. If we were also awake and also dreaming, it's called daydreaming, it never becomes real. Nobody is ever called daydreaming real. When we sleep, are no longer aware of this reality, that becomes real. When we awake to this, the dream becomes dream, this becomes real. When we go to the next level of consciousness, this whole world becomes a dream, that becomes real. When we go to the next higher level, that becomes the dream and the real thing. How long does this awakening process last? Can we keep on awakening ever, forever, and keep on finding that every level was a dream? Yes, we can. What do we find eventually? Supposing we finally wake up, and finally what can we expect, or what do we find? What have people found who have done it? And all of us can do it, by the way. It's not that some people did it in the past and we can't do it. We can all do it. Process is very simple. I can go much deeper into it and tell you the process of going to the final awakening state. When you finally awake, you find there was only one totality of consciousness, and everything has been built into that, created out of that. And all levels of reality have been created from there. One after the other, shutting off one and opening up another. So it's a very beautiful way. I can't imagine a better way of doing it. Sometimes when we sit here, we see some part of this creation, we don't like it. Terrorists, murders, pain, suffering, so much going on. What is the need of creating that kind of reality? Why should we have all this negative kind of reality sitting here? It's a terrible creation in that way. How could a good creator wanting to have a new experience create all these terrible things? How could such terrible experiences be part of a life that's supposed to be created by a so-called good creator? It doesn't make sense at all. But then we find out that experience itself, whether it's sensory experience or non-sensory experience, it takes place by comparison with the opposite. All experience is generated in pairs of opposites. If there is no opposite, there is no experience. If there was no darkness, we would never see light. Imagine for a moment if this light that is here in this room were there all the time, and whether we close our eyes or open our eyes, all the time light was there, you would never see it. There's no way you could have known it exists. How do we know light exists? Because we have seen darkness. If there was no unhappiness, we would never know what happiness is. If there was no pain, no pleasure would exist. If you look at it carefully, that the entire experience of consciousness is existing in pairs of opposites. It's a world of duality. It has to exist in pairs. And therefore, when we find immense suffering and get out of it, we find the immense suffering has led us to a state of being where there is no suffering. And we could not have known that there is no suffering if there was no suffering. And therefore, a created suffering, a created illusion of suffering, leading to an awakened state of non-created happiness, makes it more happy, makes it blissful. They use these terms, bliss, happiness, joy. Why do they use those terms for the higher states of consciousness? Because of the comparison with this state of consciousness. Remember, this is all based upon the law of pairs of opposites. On the other hand, is it really necessary to create so much real terror, real pain, real suffering? Let's examine again. Supposing we went to sleep and had a dream in which we had a nightmare, a terrible dream with so much suffering and so much pain, and we didn't like it at all, and then woke up. What would we say? Thank God it was a dream. That's precisely what we say when we go to a higher level of consciousness. Thank God it was just a created experience. It's not the reality to which we now belong. The ultimate reality we belong to has no suffering, no manyness, no differential, no discrimination, none of the things that have been created to have that experience. In some of these old texts by the Indian saints, it's recorded that there are souls of two kinds. That in our true home, the decillions of souls dancing and singing in joy because there is no suffering. They're having a great time there. And then there are some souls who have been out into an adventure land like ours, like the physical world and other worlds like this, and been through suffering, misery, seeing all these things, and then gone back to our true home. And we danced, who have gone here, we dance even more than those souls. And they say, what's so special about you that you are dancing even more than we are? And we tell them, you don't know what you're missing. You don't know what you're missing in your own home because you have not seen what you got. You can only see what you got if you have seen the opposite of that. A question can arise that if that world of ours, a true world, which belongs to, where we belong, which is our true home, we call it Satsang, the true home to which we belong, where we are one in consciousness, we are one being, and therefore we experience the many in that one being. And we do not have to imagine that we are one there. In that true home, there is no duality at all. There is no opposite. So how can we say we can experience that place which has no opposite, when the law of opposite applies to everything? Well, the beauty of this creation is that by creating a world of pairs of opposites, that has become the opposite of this. If this was not there, the world of pairs of opposites, we wouldn't even experience that. It's amazing how well planned and well placed this creation is. You go from stage to stage through this process, and you look at this creation, you'll find it's perfect. You can't improve it. Sitting here, you can improve everything. You can say, I'll write off this thing, I'll remove this element from the creation. When you see from the top, then nothing is so perfect. Everything is placed right in its right place. Therefore, the viewpoint at each level of consciousness is different. When perfect living masters, who are essential for giving us this routing and taking us back home, they come into our life, they look at the world from that point of view. They look at all the levels that are going on, including this. They operate like us so that we can be friends. If a perfect living master is not our friend, he can't be a master. Period. Because we trust a friend. We want a friend in life. We want somebody we can share everything with. We want somebody who can guide us at every point. We want a friend in need, a friend who stands by us when we need, not a friend who runs away. How can a human being, one human being, appear in our life and be a friend of that kind who is with us all the time and stands with us in need? The beauty of this relationship between a perfect living master and a friend, a disciple of his, a seeker who has become a friend of his, the relationship is so different. Because this perfect living master in a human form can manifest himself in the consciousness of the seeker. So when the seeker meditates, he can see him exactly like he is seeing him outside. He can talk to him like he can talk to the physical body. He can have the company of that person like physical body. If one gets initiated, and I might talk a little bit more later today or tomorrow about initiation, if a seeker who is seeking the truth and wants to seek his true home is found by a perfect living master and gets initiated and meditates according to the instructions he's given in the physical body, he sees the form of that master inside as real as the form outside, if not more real. And that form, with a little practice, stays forever with you. That's a permanent friendship and permanently present friendship, not one who disappears or one who has to be looked after, sought after. That's the great relationship of a perfect living master and a disciple. This friendship is permanent and accessible and visible. No other friendship is like that. I don't know of any. So therefore, it's a unique form of friendship in which the two friends travel together to their true home. You don't travel alone. Nobody travels alone. You can't go even to that state. The mind is such a great obstruction, you can never go there. But the friend can pull you up and take you, because while he is a friend here, he is operating at all levels at the same time. Therefore, he can take you stage by stage to the true home. I was talking of the importance of free will, which makes us unique. The free will alone makes us a seeker. Nobody can seek if you don't have free will. Therefore, it doesn't matter how real or unreal it is. It gives us the power to seek, and we become a seeker. And if you are a seeker, you are a candidate for going back home. Nothing more is needed. People say, is there a special qualification to be initiated and to go back home with the perfect living master? No. The only qualification is be a seeker and seek. Seek and you will find, certainly. How do you seek? Not by shouting in the street. Seek within yourself. Don't have to speak. Seek within yourself. Speak in your heart, in your mind, in your head. Ask that you want to go back to a true home in your head. And I guarantee that by coincidence, a perfect living master come into your life and take you back home. If you find teachers and masters who are not perfect living masters, and you follow them also, it still doesn't matter. Still keep on seeking. Seek till they take you to a point and you want to seek more. Seek. You'll find a perfect living master. The whole secret is seeking. Therefore, the importance of the illusion of free will, which is absolutely real for us here. That's why free will is so important. That's why the human body becomes so important. It's the only form that can seek and can have the freedom to say, I want this or I don't want this. So when you say, I seek, you're expressing your free will to seek. And that's a great experience of seeking. And that experience is responded by a perfect living master, ordinary person, in ordinary garb, human being appearing, and gradually you find out that was not an ordinary person. He looked very ordinary. He lived ordinary. What was the difference between him and us? The difference was in awareness, nothing else. He was aware of the whole thing, and we are not aware of it. Don't think that there's any other difference. A perfect living master is not born of some other material or made of something else. He's like us. He lives like us. Happens to be a man. He does sure like us. For those who don't know sure, it means shit, shave, and shower. I mean, he's just an ordinary person like us. So it's not that we find a distinction in physical form. The distinction is in the awareness. That he's constantly aware of this whole game right from inception to now. And we are not. That's the only difference. And how does he take us to the true home? By gradually giving us the awareness, stage by stage, of every level of the creation that has taken place. And showing us that the body is the last costume we are wearing for the local show here. Another inner costume that we are wearing of sense perceptions is for another world. The costume of the mind we are wearing is for another world. And then our pure soul, individuated, is wearing a costume of individuality. And our truth is oneness with totality, with the Creator. There's no difference. That's how it comes. One other note I want to give you about this free will. Because it's a very ticklish subject. Is it real, unreal? If it is unreal, why are we being punished? If it is really all predetermined, what are we to do here? All kind of questions come up if free will is determined. The free will that is here, who has recorded it? If we say it's pre-recorded, predetermined, who determined it? If somebody else determined it, then we can say we are slaves to somebody else's recording. But when we find out by going to the top, we recorded it, then it's really free. It looks like illusion here because it's illusion here, and it's really free when we go to the top because we recorded it. Therefore, it's really free will. But we don't find out till the end that it was really our own record. We made it up, and therefore now we are practicing it, using it. We are calling it free will here in illusion because we recorded the whole thing in advance. And now we are going through it, and we don't know the future, so we think we are practicing free will here. But we recorded the whole process ourselves. It was our free will. Nobody else made it up. So that's why it's really free also. It's a very interesting point. And when you do more practice and go deeper into it, you'll find that free will was really free. But not here. It was free when the original determination was made. Otherwise, you can keep on saying, I have free will, or do I have? People who believe in God have a big problem. And most people do believe in God, because the definition of God is, He's omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. Omniscient means He knows everything. If He really knows everything, He knows what you're going to decide with your free will. If He doesn't know, if God doesn't know what you're going to decide, then He has put man above Himself. He doesn't know, the man can decide anything he wants. But that's not the definition of God. The definition of God is He knows everything. You can be thinking, should I do it or not do it? God knows already what you're going to do. If that is true, it can't be real free will. There must be God's will operating. This problem came up. I was studying at Harvard University. And a student, we used to discuss these things, free will, every day with professors of psychology, philosophy. There was one student, bright student. He was examining this issue of free will. And he called me one day in the morning. I have found out, Eureka, I found out we have no free will. On the simple premise that I believe in God. Let's try today meditation behind the eyes with love and devotion.